Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bristol channel. So today we're up on the higher reaches of the Bristol channel, and the main target for today is a thornback ray. So over the years, fished this mark many times, starting back from the mid-90s onwards really. Battery Point, very famously known. We fished here last year, me and Gavin, and we had a cod out. There was a lot of rain at that last year, and a lot of the weed and debris and that was coming down through. It was nigh on impossible to fish towards the end. But we're speaking to a local at the time, and he was saying when it gets that much rainwater in the top end of the channel, it does have effect on a lot of the fishing. You wouldn't believe it really, the amount of quantity of water that comes on in here. But over the years, fished here, as I said, back in the 90s, not really knowing what we were doing back then. And we met an old guy, local guy, sadly passed away now, around 5 years ago. And he sort of like shown us a little bit, if you like. He took us to a few different places, and this was one of his favourite marks as he got older. He used to fish the benchmark at the top on big tides. Now normally, as a lot of people know, you wouldn't necessarily come out on the top end of the channel on those sort of tides, but because they got the bay to the left hand side, it keeps you out of the main run, and you can hold bottom 6 or 7 ounce lead, 7 ounce lead preferably, and you're in the bay. And what he used to do back in like the 70s and 80s and that with his old man, they used to basically live bait. So they put a little 4-0 hook with a bit of bluey or whatever on the end, and behind that they'd have a big 10-0 stinger. And what they would do is they'd cast out, get a whiting on, and just leave it and just sit on the top there. And they had some fantastic cod, and I mean some amazing cod, well into the double figures and up into the over the 20 pound mark from this venue. Fishing's obviously gone down since those days, sadly. I mean, I've heard of stories of, especially the mark we normally fish on Battery Point, and numerous occasions pulling like 3 or 4 fish over the 20 pound mark, you know what I mean, into the teens were a regular occurrence. Sadly, those days are gone, but you never know. I mean, a lot of people think they have the 4-year cycle. I mean, last year I saw some massive cod out. You go back 4 years ago, there was a lot of smaller fish, so hopefully it tends to be the same way as previous years this year, where you don't get so many of those little 1 pound, 2 pound codling, and you're getting the odd massive fish. So let's hope for that today. Always got a chance of a cod where we are. I've got ray baits out, if I'm honest. We always got the chance of a cod. I mean, it's set up for cod at the same time. I've got a massive big hook on the top hook, and I've not mucked around with it at the end of the day. You're after a big fawning. That's the main key to the fact. I mean, we could have gone to like some of the reef marks, Sheraton or Lilstock and places like that. The trouble is, when you're going down there, you're going there for fishing. You're not necessarily going down here. We're out for specimen hunting today. We're after that big thornback ray. Anything over the 10 pound mark we do. We had a trip a few weeks ago now on one of our club members from Top Rods SAC, Kev, from Wales. He ventured across with Geth, and he was lucky enough to have a 13 pound 9 or 13 pound 10. Lovely thornback ray, only fish of the day, took everybody's money, and yeah, it was a really good day. But now's sort of time now where preferably you go out and start targeting species. For me personally, like the other night, me and Connor went out, and you're looking for percentages with club fishing, aren't you? So a lot of it is down to what we're around at the time. So we went out for a whiting the other night, and because of the specimen weight for whiting, it's £1.8 for our local region, which is quite small really. So if you're lucky enough to target, and like last year we had them well into the upper 2s and stuff, and we abseiled down to a mark and fished there for how long? 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours, and there's loads of £1 whiting. £1, I would say about £1 was the biggest, if I'm honest. Not what we wanted, but it was nice to get out. But that's the joy of specimen hunting. So the target for the day is thornback ray. I'm fishing, as I said, I'm fishing 6-0s on a pulley rig at the moment. What I'll probably do, as that tide starts to push up a bit later on, is put some longer rigs on. I've had one cast over the front, me and Connor each, and the tide is literally hammering through. Slightly too big, really. I like it where it doesn't come up over the rocks, you know what I mean, on the Nipah tides, really. But it can be a lovely place to fish, and over the years it's created a lot of dreams for a lot of anglers. But lovely day, no rain, touch wood, and hopefully we can get into a little bit. I'll go and have a little chat with Connor in a bit later on. For those of you obviously updates and stuff like that, he's been doing really well. He smashed the rays last year. He got his blonde. He had his. You had a spotted. You had a spotted last year, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
No, didn't get the spotted, but you had the small eyed. You had the fawnies, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had the fawnies and the small eyes and stuff. So yeah, definitely started to produce the goods. But we're going to get a few baits out in a minute. I'll go through some rigs and that, and then we'll get into the day. Let's get on to it. Okay, guys. So you're out fishing. For those of you who are new to the sport or looking what sort of things you need for fishing a venue like this, upper reach of the Bristol Channel, a lot of the marks are fairly easy. There's not a great distance of walking involved. It's not like some of the reef marks further down, and that can be a little bit more trickier, and you've got to watch what you're doing. A lot of it is quite safe up there around this way. The only upper reach of the channel, the only thing I would say is quality boots. Okay, make sure you've got a good pair of quality studded boots. I've got the Snowline Grubs, they're the 8.5s I believe at the moment. I bought them from Norway last year, and yeah, they're ideal. I mean, I've got a nice pair of warm socks. I've got Sentry gear on at the minute. Just what I find is it's cheap as chips, and it's warm at the end of the day. I've been very warm with it, especially when I've got my wet weather gear, my Titan stuff as well. This with a t-shirt on underneath and the Titan gear, and I've been warm in the evenings. You know what I mean? I've got an extra hat if I need it. I've got obviously got there if I need to get a cold neck or stuff like that. Warm clothes is always definitely. What have I got in my tackle box then? So I've got my GoPro. Gef's picking them up in a minute. So Gef's on his way down to Sailhouse, pick some reels up. So I've got my reel cases for my reels I've got on. I'll go for the rod and that in a minute. I've got a bag here, so I've got my Zocron little bits bag. And that's what I store my weights in. So I've got a load of 7s and 6s in there at the moment, and yeah, it's pretty much what you need. I would definitely bring 7s. If that tide starts running hard, it's always worth putting that 7s. If you've got in a few 8s, stick a few 8s in, but 9 times out of 10 a 7 will do. That's all you need for that. I've got me lunch, not kindly sponsored by you. Definitely not. Right, so drink, got a drink there. Scales, to be honest, quite light really. I've got headlight for later on. I've got backup batteries for that, so that's that inserted in there. I've got a base layer hat just in case. I've got a little box there. I like the rig bit spots. I've got some link clips, I've got some swivels, I've got various hooks and bits and pieces like that, just in case it comes short or whatever, you know what I mean, use a hook or stuff like that. The scourger definitely needed, and I've got some spare reels, so I've got my Sotiga 20s in there as well. Okay, look at them, looking at them very fine. Go through something on that in a minute, so I'll leave them out. Okay, got some shock leader, so I've got some 80-pound shock leader for actual my main shock, and I've also got some 100-pound Sakuma for my traces. Definitely use 100-pound on the rays up here. I mean, after big old rays, you get one what goes into the tide and stuff like that. You want to make sure you land it, and with the abrasion on the rays, I've said it many times before. I've had rays break with 80-pound trace before, and it's something that I don't tend to do now. It's not worth it, you know what I mean. But then I've got some rock bottom weak link there. Pair of shades just in case you need them. I'm going to need them there. I've got that Spooligan baiting needle I've been using. I'll go through the bait and that in a minute. And I've got a couple of things of bait elastic there as well, and that is basically it, guys. Not a great deal needed really, you know what I mean. I'm not fishing rotten bottoms where I am. If I'm fishing the front sometimes, I'll fish a rotten bottom, for the simple fact that if you do get something which gets jammed in, especially with a decent fish on, I mean, you're fishing very deep water there, and when you can actually fish it properly, I always say you've got chance of, if you want to specifically target a big massive cod, this is one of the marks that I would definitely try from. If you're going out to target one, I mean, there's not many marks where you can physically go out and especially target a 20-pound cod in the channel now. I mean, it's luck of the draw, they turn up anywhere, but it's one of those marks because of the depth of water you're fishing it in, and the way you come in, and it comes up onto the bank, you could land anything there as well. So it's a place really I'd fish massive sardine baits doubled up with massive like 8-0 10-0 hooks and have a go. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, it's a nice place to fish. Put me a bit closer. It's not that cold today. It's quite mild for January, which is always nice, isn't it? So get all that in there again. Batteries, my dinner and that for later. GoPro like that. Okay, so I'll put Gef's reels in there as well. And then there, I'll leave those reels out for a minute. Rig wallet. Let's talk rigs. Okay guys, rigs. So it's got a lead out there a minute, so I'll put that down to the side. So what are we talking? So rig wallet, I've got a few of these Century ones. I've picked up around, I reckon I've got about 15 so far, and I buy them every now and again. I'll buy 2 or 3 just to stock up really. I've got a load of rigs and stuff which I just make up and I'll put in there. What rigs will I use at this venue, may I ask? So we'll start off with what I've got on at the moment. So I've gone to the end and I've chucked it out as far as I can just to hold just inside that tide line. So as that tide starts to push up in here in a minute, hopefully we see a few fish come in over the top, get a bit of depth. Pulley rig, okay, the famous pulley rig. It's a classic. It's a rig which 90% of anglers will use 100% of the time. I know guys won't use anything else. They go out with a pulley rig and that's the only rig they'll use. Very good rig, lot of success over the years with it, and myself as well, you know what I mean? So it's always a good one. So with that, how would you make them up? Lots of people use different gear, lots of people use different ways of doing things. Me personally, this is the way I do it, and I find it works. Obviously with the specimens, I bulk everything up for what I'm targeting. What I would always say to you, look at what you're using it for. If you're using it for going down targeting a few whiting, or you're going down using it for placing, or you're going down for a few bassing off the beach and stuff like that, you do not necessarily need to make these rigs like I am at the moment. I'm out targeting specimen fish, and one of the reasons I overscale with my stuff is a simple fact that I don't want to lose something, okay? And I've had it growing up in the past, and I think it's one of those things where it's trial and error, and you learn along the way. And I personally, out of experience is probably the best word for it, know that £80 sometimes isn't enough when you're targeting rays. If you land them on it, don't get me wrong, but I've had big fish and I've lost big fish due to that, and not it going there on the trace line or anywhere else. It goes down there, okay? That rubbing of abrasion, so that's in my mouth now, you know what I mean? And especially with the rays, they've got it's like sandpaper, very, and it will put wear and tear. And a lot of the time when you're on the reefs and you're catching 5 or 6 pounders and stuff like that, you look at your traces and that, and they're getting smashed. And I recall a session I had many years ago down on the River Yelm, and I had a monstrous thornback on, I mean massive thornback ray, and the guy I was with, it fought high. It's the first time I've ever seen a ray with the tide come out of the water, and I mean come out, breach the water completely and land down. And we've got it around to the point, and I was reeling, got it up, and as it come out sideways, if we had a gaff we could have gaffed it straight away, but went to grab a trace and it just parted straight away. And I feel personally it was down to how hard the fish fought and the abrasion on it. It just took that little, you know what I mean? And it's just one of them, and I've learned by it. Of that I have, and I won't use anything else except from £100 now. Now this here is it's about like 0.90, so it's only an extra point bigger than an 80 normal, but it's £100 in strength. Okay, it's by Sakuma, very supple, and it's just a lovely shock leader, and it's a lovely trace line. I mean, like that now, if I pull it tight, there's no twist in it. It lies lovely. It's just a very good trace line to use. What am I using on the business end then? So what I've got there is I've got the 6.0 octopus from Sakuma, and I've also got a J-hook, a Manta Extra, and that's a 6.0 at the moment. So I've got 2 6.0s on. Reason I'm using 6.0s, if I'm honest, I would, if I'm out and out targeting fawnies and stuff like that, sometimes I'd use like just Chinus, like 2.40 Chinus is more enough, and make sure I've got an octopus on the top or whatever like that. But because I've got a chance of a cod today, I want bigger hooks. But cods have got big mouths, you know what I mean? You get a big cod come along, I'm using big baits, you've got a good chance of catching it. I've got a chance of catching a good cod today. So I want to make sure I'm keyed up and target everything I've got in there is going to handle and is going to do what I want it to do. So you'll land a big fawny on that, and you'll land a big cod on that. Congers, you've got a chance of anything like that up here. Bass, big congers. I say big congers, you've got a chance of like a 20-pounder up here. I would say big cod and big fawnies is probably the main target today, but I'm specifically after a fawny. And that's the reason I've come into the bay here, because you seem to get a lot of the fish come into the bay, especially the rays. But if you look at that there now, I've got a rubber bead in between. So what that does is when I'm baiting up, I'll keep that bead down at the bottom there, okay? And then when that comes around like that, now if that goes to pull and it goes down like that, it can pull all the way down like that, a rod long, and look at that there now, it just goes straight back onto the bead. There's protection of that knot, and I have had many fish, especially rays, take that top hook down, and you know what I mean, and be holding on that rubber, you know what I mean. Even my big blonde, about 27 £2 blonde ray, exactly the same, and when it come in like that, it was on against that rubber. It's very important to cushion your knot, you know what I mean. Some people use power gum and different things. Me personally, that's what I tend to use. So we come down to the main rig body now, after we looked at the trace line. As I said, with the trace line, you can go lighter, you could go £80, you could go £60. It's down to preference and what you're targeting, guys, so look at that. Quality is the main thing. You get what you pay for with fishing, whether it's down to reels, whether it's down to rods. And when I say you get what you pay for, you've got to look what you're buying. I mean, a lot of what I've seen happen, especially in the last 10 years now, there's certain things that what you can purchase with rods and reels and stuff like that, and I think companies are switched on to the fact if something's expensive, people want it. With the likelihoods like Century and Ziplex and that over the years, and Dower and Penn, you know what I mean, they're established manufacturers what produce top quality gear which lasts, you know what I mean. I say that with rods, not necessarily reels now. We've had this discussion and stuff like that. I feel that reels have started to go down instead of going up, really, just by the simple fact of just, I don't know, I feel that they with reels sometimes it's looked upon what America or that or looking at, rather than what we want in the UK. And with mag reels and stuff like that is a big thing over here, you know what I mean, and especially with the type of fishing we're doing and stuff. And I feel personally, I'll go through that a bit later on, but it's a different topic. So business end, so I've got Maxima £100 rig body down there, okay, there now. Love it, love it. You buy a big spool for 50 quid and it'll last you a few years, making thousands of rigs and stuff like that. It's just quality, guys. It lays nice, it fits nice, don't tend to tangle up like that and that when you with the trace, and it's just nice. Now I've got 7-ounce Namix lead on there at the moment. The SKM's the ones I normally use, but I've got an imp, so there's an imp there onto the side. I love the imps. It's guaranteed to release every time, especially if you're using up to 6 O's, you know what I mean. I've had them like with the 8 O's and stuff like that. If they're using a J hook, they handle fine. If you start using like bigger hook, like with chinnies and stuff like that, 9 times out of 10 you go up to like a 6, and that's about it, really. Anything bigger, it doesn't hold properly, so we use the little clips as I've gone through before. But then obviously up through here now I've got a rubber bead. I always use the rubber beads. I think the rubber beads are lovely. I've got a proper pulley from Breakaway. I mean, I've been using those proper pulleys now for many years, and I've had a lot of success with them. I've never had them go out and stuff, and I've handed some fantastic fish over the years on them, and I feel confident with using. If I'm out and out rough grounding, I tend to go for a swivel, or if I'm over in Fuerteventura, Norway, because of the size of the fish you're targeting, that I'll use a swivel. But over here, it does everything I wanted to do. Rubber bead, and then on there I've got a £100 Gemini swivel, which is exactly the same quality all the way. Always look for quality, guys, at the end of the day. That's one big tip I'll give you. But no, that is basically the pulley rig. So that's me set up with that. That's what I'll be using 9 times out of 10 today. Get a lot of these boats coming through. The depth of water there is unreal. When you cast out and it drops down, you can just feel it going and going and going and going and going. Well, you can see now the water will start breaching up through over the top of these rocks, and now on a big tide I wouldn't be sat where I am now, but I'm roughly on the tide line roughly, so I'll get away with it I reckon for another hour or so. 10:30 is high water, and we'll fish down to lower later on. But yeah, see if we can get out. We might even move for low water, you know, who knows. It's a possibility the way we are today. See how we get over the top of the tide, and maybe fish it back for an hour and then head off somewhere else, who knows. But right, so we'll go through some other rigs. So whatever rigs would I use on this mark I'm at today. So never good rig, but it's got no hooks on. So let's have a look here. I've got that one there, that there. So drop down rig, okay. So the drop down rig, another classic rig what I like to use targeting rays and things, It's a good, strong, top quality rig, which is I've landed some really good fish over the years. Small live rays. I'd like to use it in rough conditions. It's just some people say the bite detection's not very good on it. I mean, if you got something sitting on the end of it, yeah, maybe fair enough. But if you've got something what's running, it works just as well as anything else, and it'll pick it up and put it where you want it straight away. So it's like a bit like a drop. Up and over rig really, except from it drops down. So I've got the main rig body, which is quite long. Okay, I would say it's about just over 4 foot long. This 4.5, yeah, about 4 foot long, I would say. Exactly the same as a pulley rig really. So it's basically got a imp on the bottom, and then I've got a rubber bead, then I've got a Gemini bent link clip. See that? And then that's got a 100-pound swivel on again going onto my trace. But what happens is it comes down onto the top, and the rest of it is exactly the same as a pulley rig setup, except from where you put down there with the swivel, you clip that drop down with it. Okay, I'll put a full description of this in, so for anybody what's looking for just to learn the rig, onto my the Sea Fishing Show account as well. Okay, but then that basically clips down like so, and that's like that. Then you fish it down like that. So when I basically go like that and it drops off, it will drop the bait down and leave a long flowing bait well away from the rig. I find it quite important. I'll be using it a bit later on in the for rays. So yeah, just see how we get on. But yes, another rig I like to use. And then we've also got the running up and over, which is a similar rig again. Very good for cod, very good for thornbacks. It's just the trouble with this rig, it tends, like on bass and cod and stuff like that, it tends to hook it further back into the fish. And I find it important sometimes when you're cod fishing, because with cod fishing they got big mouths, and if with a pulley rig they go like that, and if it misses the hook, it'll come straight out of his mouth. Where with this rig, because of the way it runs, the rod itself will hook the fish, because as it goes off it indicates the rod will go over, and what happens is this. So it will set up like that, it will clip up over the top. I'll go through how it's made in a minute. It will clip down onto the bottom like that, okay, and then when you undo it, it goes like that, and it leaves a long flowing trace, a bit like a drop down. But the good thing about this, like this, acts as a boat rig, so it's got all that. So when it even picks it up, before it even indicates, it will go all the way like that to my rod tip. My rod tip will bend over, that will lift the lead up, which will set the hook. It's a very good rig, guys, and I use it loads for raying, especially for blondes and small lines and stuff like that. And I would say there's been times where I've been with people and stuff like that, and we've been fishing and we've all been using pulley rigs and that and not that, and I've put this on there, and it's made the difference between catching fish and not catching fish. And I think sometimes when the fish aren't like in numbers, that can be the difference between seeing a fish or not. Okay, and the way it's made is this. So on the bottom end you've got a swivel. Okay, so I've got a 100-pound swivel with a rubber bead and then a bigger bead, and then I've got one of the Gemini pulley beads there on there with an imp going down to my lead, so it helps protect it. Then I've got a big bead, then I've got a small bead, which is basically acting like that, and on the top I've got a bent link clip from Gemini. Okay, and then basically on that end I've got trace lines. So what you can do is you can basically double up the whatever size main rig body you're using there, you can double up in size to use as your trace line. So what I tend to do is make it about 4 inches smaller, okay, and then that will clip down onto my trace line. My trace is exactly the same in hooks as what I've done on the other rigs, okay, and then basically it goes down like that, and it goes down really small, but that trace is double the width of that. So I would say that's about 2.5 foot. So I've got a 5 foot trace on that, you know what I mean, and that will dangle with that around and stuff like that. If I'm fishing down some places like Dartmouth and Salcombe and stuff like that, I fish prawn like on one of these rigs, okay, but I'll fish it with a little ball weight about 6 to 8 inches up my line, so it just goes bombing along like that, which is given the effects of a prawn. Really good way of targeting fawnies down around that area with that. So that's rigs, that's basically the rigs. But I'm going to bring this rig bait up in now, and chain bait up, go for a quick bait up, and then we'll get another rig out. So let's get me phone in my pocket. There's tide coming up over now, I'm gonna have to move in a minute, but Hopefully, as the tide comes in now, I'll bring the fish in with it, eh? Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. We've got a bit of weed on. Okay, so massive boat coming in behind me now. You're going to see it's being brought in by the tugboats. Goes to show how deep it is. Okay, drop down, set up. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is get some baiting up done. So I'll bring my little cool bag, okay, and then what I tend to do is this, just get it covered in mud. Try not to. I've got the car today. Right, sardine. I've been using this loads this past 12 months, and I've had some really good fish on it, really good fish, and it's been to be honest, I'd use this. I'm quite happy. Many years ago I was gutted about the sand eel shortage, but I'm not really that bothered anymore, because if I can get this like I have been, it's a win-win for me. So basically all I'm doing at the moment is I'm going to turn it inside out. Okay, so I'll just split it around like that, and what I'll do is put my hooks, top hook through like so. Okay, so that goes around there like that, and then fold back over itself like so. Put that on for a minute. It just enables it to hold better when I'm baiting it up. Just want scent. Obviously I'm fishing the channel a minute, dirty water, so I'm relying on scent, and turning this inside out like that is definitely going to give it more scent. Okay, so I'll get that around.
Heads up,
Connor's going out for a cast. Boom, to infinity and beyond. We'll have a little natter with Connor in a minute. I'll get this one out first. Lovely. There you go. I'm hoping I'll catch a decent fish today. It's destroying me, guys. It does. Because I only get a chance to go one day a week now. It's hard when you're not catching. I mean, we went Plymouth the other day and it was rubbish. We went down White and Bashing the other day, it was rubbish. And today you always got a possibility when you come up this far that you're going to blank. You know what I mean? And I've blanked many a times up here. But when you do get the rewards, it's worth it. So you've just got to go with it, innit, sometimes. But I noticed when I was putting the pictures up last year, as everybody does it around Christmas time, everybody shows all their captures and stuff like that. And I didn't do it as much as I would have liked to. But I had more photos and stuff with family. And yeah, it's been good. I think you got to grow up some days, haven't you? And I know how important fishing is to me, and to be honest, it's not just that for your mental health and that. I've got to get out once a week. With obviously the everyday stress of life and stuff, it gives me a bit of free time, and it's something I enjoy doing. You know what I mean? I think it's important in life, no matter what you're doing. But at the same time, it's important when you've got kids and stuff like that. It's important with doing things and spending time with them, isn't it? So it's one of them really. But yeah, I've been spending a lot of time with my youngest daughter and stuff, and family. To be honest, I had a really good Christmas. Connor's left the baiting towels at home. I ain't gonna lie, every time I've been going lately I've forgot my baiting towel, so I've been having to wash my hands in this today, and then wipe them in my hoodie, and then take my hoodie off before I go, and then yeah, Not the best thing to be doing with your hoodie really, but they're clean because I've been washing them in the puddles. So that's that. But right, before I get to it, we'll just go through equipment quickly. Okay guys, so a lot of you know over the years I go on and on and on. I talk a lot of jumbo some of the time, don't I? Most of the time. Right, rods. I've got to be honest, last year I done on my favourite rod. It's changed. I've been using these for a little while now, and I love them. I really do. They've took over the T900 in with my personal preference, just because more backbone and stuff. And that is the Century Eliminator T1000. An out and out beast, will handle anything you want to chuck at it in English waters. Loads and loads of backbone. A very nice fishing tip. I know a lot of people think they're quite heavy. I've personally found the more I use it, the more I'm enjoying it. And it's a lovely rod. It really is a lovely rod. I mean, I purchased SUs last year again and the HST Dimix and stuff, and I've moved them on. And why? I don't know. That Eliminator range is something very special about it, and I just love using them. I bought the Graphic Sports, which are very, very light and powerful, and I will be using them depending where I'm going. Really, some places which like some of the rayon marks when you've not got a lot of room behind me, I'll be using them and stuff like that. But these here, they're lovely. When you can load them up and you've got room, they just absolutely fly. The gearbox system in it is just it's just an art of magic in my opinion. But yeah, I got them matched up with the original Penn Fathom 15s magged. Recently picked up a pair of them for my mate who didn't end up wanting them in the end, so I ended up having them. So I've got another pair of them now. I end up looking after a mate of mine. Joseph had a pair of them off me again, so he's got 2 pairs. He's had 2 pairs of mine now, but I'm back up to 3 pairs of them again now, which is good. And I've got another pair to pick up, and I've got another 2 pairs to pick up when I go to Brid. So I'll end up with another 6 pairs of them. I don't think you can have too many because I don't know. I'm not a fan of the Mark IIs, the Fathom 2. I'm really not. So yeah, the Mark 1s are the ones for me. But that's that. £20 main line with a £80 shock leader, and yeah, just a tripod. I've got a gaff just in case we get a big one, we need to get it so we can't get to it. I've got the Ingalls tripod with a mesh net, and then the Spooligan cups. So yeah, everything's ready to rock and roll. I'm going to get this cast out now. I'm probably going to have to move because it's looking like it. I'm going to get this one here now, get it cast out, and then probably end up having to juggle up a little bit. Let's get one out then. I don't know if you've seen that. When I cast out then, let it hit the water, I let it drop down, then I started to pull it back slightly before that lead settles, just so it keeps a bait in behind the back of it. I know with the tide it's going to start moving around to the right slightly, but the rig's set. It's important really, no matter what rig you're using. Me personally, I see loads of anglers when I see it all the time. They'll cast out, they'll let the lead drop, and they won't set the rig. So they'll think just by pulling back, sometimes you can be anywhere, especially when you're on the reefs and that. You want to make sure your rigs and that are all completely set properly. So when they're lying like that, they're lying back out and your trace lines are away from them. You know what I mean? That's what they're set to do. But that there now will be set up lovely, pulled back in the tide, and hopefully we can see a fish out. It's a bit of a nightmare for the cast really, because I had a drop. It's like a channel coming down here now, and I had the drop of the rocks as they drift up behind me. But that water's coming in, so we'll get these in the tripod and see if we can get fish out. Okay guys, so as many of you know, this time last year started going through some general phases and talking about a company what was introducing an app. So mid last year the app went live, was speaking to the developers and the guys who were behind the scenes and basically run the company and work for the company, and some of the ideas. And so they had the release of the app, and it's been going very well. I mean, I've done a video with Pete, one of the reps for Catch, towards the end of the year last year, and we run through some different places, not a million miles where we are now. And yeah, so I've been using the features and stuff like that, and they've got a reward system and stuff like that, and they've got a lot of new changes to the app and new phases and new features to the app what's just come out. A lot of the obviously details were behind the app originally, so you had originally based on carp lakes and stuff like that, for a point where an angler could go and basically book for a session at a lake, and they could go to any lakes they wanted and book for one place, and then they can store their catches and stuff like that. Now that's been developed out towards the saltwater angler now. So one of the key features which I'm going to show you now, and I think it's really good, to be fair, because of how you can store information, and it's information which is very valuable to you when you're fishing, because especially when you're first starting out, and as I said to Connor many times before, because when you're first starting out, you don't understand. When you go fishing, sometimes you just go for the sake of things, okay, and you want to go fishing, just go fishing. But when you start catching at different marks and stuff like that, there'll be a reason why you catching at those marks, and it's always to do with conditions, and conditions are a main feature with sea angling, and it's something which I don't think's talked about enough. I mean, when you start going on your road to catching a few fish and stuff like that, you sort of learn things, and at the beginning, and I forget things now, you know what I mean, there's certain things where I think, I had that like that, and then the following year I don't go and do it, and I think, what? And then you see it come up because people with catch reports and stuff like that now, and you think, why don't I just go and do that? And it helps you maintain being at venues and stuff and having to beat the crowds and stuff. And I'm a great believer in creating the catch reports rather than following them, you know what I mean. And you see it a lot these days where people don't tend to go fishing until they see catch reports. But the trouble is, by the time a catch report's released and someone's had the fish, people are all over it then. So I'm a great believer in you don't follow catch reports, you create them, you know what I mean, you make them. So you're going out, you're fishing off your own back at the end of the day, and that way you beat the crowds. And if you can maintain and keep, I mean, Wells is a bit harder to do now, but all it takes is for someone to catch a blonde, and it's completely a ram there now, where if people were catching those blondes and keeping them to themselves for a little bit, they could stay on with them for a minute. But I think in a way fishing's become that popular now, it's hard to do, and obviously everybody wants to take a photo, and it's become the main way of life, isn't it, I suppose, in a way. But this is a good feature for it, because it enables you to store the information. You haven't got to share it if you don't want to. There's an option to share it, but you can create your own diary. So I'll take this one. This is catch reports one, so it's got one of these catch report there. We'll take this one out. So on the 11th of October 2024, I had a blonde ray of £13.7. Okay, so I can collect this information here. So this will give me all the information now. It was caught at Clevedon, United Kingdom, and I got a map view there where I can push into where it will show me where I caught it on the map. So I can basically click that up there and it comes to full map view. Okay, it was caught at, so here we go here now, so we can go into more weather details. So the wind direction, so it was caught at 7:47 p.m. The temperature was 6.8 degrees, and sunrise that morning was 7:30 a.m. The wind direction on that evening was east northeast, and its direction in degrees is 50. Wind speed mile per hour was 3.4 to next to no wind. And then Sunday sunset was at 6:26 that day. Moon phase, very big feature, okay, a very big feature. So the moon rise time was 4:24, the moon set time was 12 a.m. Moon phase was waxing, moon duration was 52%, and then we've got temperature, and it tells you what it feels like, wind chill, heat direction, and Here we go, it's on there. So all that information is on there completely. Then I can go to my catch notes. But bottom of the neeps starting to build, colder nights starting to come in now, sardine for bait running up and over a rig with short traces. Okay, so take that for example. So this year a few videos went up online, didn't they, of Clevedon and stuff like that with the blonde rays and stuff, and there was a lot of catch reports and stuff like that. So because you're not local to the area, you're not necessarily going to be putting a lot of time in around that venue, but this is the joy of it, what you can do. You can look back through that now and you think to yourself, it's starting to come around that sort of time now. Do you know what? I'm going to go and have a go. Get together with the lads, chuck some fuel in the car, get up there. You're not always guaranteed, but the good thing about it, you're going to beat the crowds. And that is a good thing about it. At the end of the day, you see it all the time now, especially the top end of Chesil. I mean, that used to be like a hidden jewel. And due to catch reports now, and especially social media, you've got everybody in the world fishing it, and it's not necessarily, it's an easy place for someone to go when they're first starting to catch a ray, and it's an easy place for someone first starting out to go and catch a decent ray, because it's one of those places where it seems to throw up big fish, you know what I mean, and it sees a lot of anglers what not necessarily catch those type of fish all the times, catching fish like that because of the conditions and the whereabouts and how easy access it is to fish. And modern day technology, social media, and yeah, it's just the way of the world really. But guys, that way there, you're able to store the information. You can write it down, fair enough, but we got off mobile phones these days now. Everything's done like that, isn't it? One of the main key features which I like about it is this. It's like less than a cup of coffee I pay for this app, right? And I use all of this. So I've got, for example, it's lots of carp stuff, and if you're into carp fishing, you get a lot of discounts and stuff, like 20% off Poiny baits and stuff like that. There's loads of it on there. But I've got like Hooker's baits 10% off, so I can basically order through the internet, claim 10% off on that. You've got, whatever ones have you got on here? You've got Snowbee, 15% discount at Snowbee, you know what I mean, for your waders and stuff like that. You've got Veal Saltwater Specialist, 15% off all purchase. You've got what else have we got on here? Sakuma, 10% off. Any Fish Anywhere, 10% off luggage. Any Fish Anywhere, 5% off discount. I'll take out this for rods and stuff. You got ASO Sports Fishing, 10% off. Sports Fishing discount, 5% off. I'm not sure what the difference is with that. You got Joker Jigs, lures, I believe that is, and shads and stuff, 15% discount. It all helps. If you're into kayak fishing, you got 10% off there as well. It's just like, there's loads and loads of different offers on there from different companies, and new ones being added all the time. So for me personally, I spend a lot of money online with buying bits and pieces and stuff like that. For me, it's a no-brainer, you know what I mean? For a price of a cup of coffee, I'll save that with one order. And you've got the feature at the same time with that. But there's a lot of new things in developments coming to it, and lots of new things. So I'm getting together with Pete this week, which will run through some more information on it at the same time then. But that tide's starting to go now. It's pushing me up towards Connor. I'll be sat on his lap in a minute. But yeah, going to bring this other rod in now, and then we will sit down with Connor and have a little natter. So we have half hours of high water. It's only going to push me up a little bit. Might be alright. Right, try and get this rig up. Okay then, bait up time. So, time to get some baits out there. Let's get some baits out there. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to walk over to the point. I'm going to blast one out to as far as I can get it out to the left, and then hopefully pay off. But as you can see, what you find, what I quite like out here sometimes, you don't get the doggies and that, and the baits come back like that instead of being pestered with dogfish. And I know some people like catching dogfish, but me personally, I'd rather have my bait left out there catching nothing than getting smashed by dogfish or small fawnies. It's like the reefs. The trouble is with the reefs, there's some decent fish to be had out at sometimes, but you've got to fish through all those smaller fish to try and get to the big ones, and it's a nightmare. It's something what's not for me personally anymore. I can think of better things to be doing, but let's see if we can get one out. So, sardine bait, I'm going to cut it in beyond the back of the eyes, and then I'm going to cut big finger side off it. I'm going to wrap the other bit with squid then, alright? The bait elastic. I like this. I know you buy it as a dongle set, but I don't use it like that. I just use it for a bait. So I basically hold my bait on it. And the good thing about that, I can literally run everything through like that, so I can basically go in like so. Lovely. Bring my rubber bead down the back of it like so. Bluey would be nice to add onto it as well. I loves a bit of bluey up here. Should have bought some bluey really, because I got this so cheap last year. That's all I've been using. I've used it as squid and bluey on some of the trips and stuff like that, but it's when I've been going raying and stuff, I think it's a lovely bait, to be fair. Alright, so we'll go through that down there like that now. I've got a good friend of mine which I got to thank for that. I had to go all the way down to Penzance. He looked after me, bless his cotton socks, but he bit of a trip down really, but well worth it. I mean, for what I paid out for them, I know I had to buy the vat packer and stuff like that, but it's saved me a fortune with bait, especially for the winter periods and that now as well. So there you go. So that's basically all set up now, ready to rock and roll. We'll get one blasted out, and hopefully we can get a fish out. Okay, gonna risk it for a biscuit. So the tide should be starting to calm down now. I'm going to put one over there in a minute, I think. I might do it now. I'm going to risk one for a biscuit. Let's do it. Okay then. Out on the front now, one rod. I've been here probably 40 minutes. And I've just got to get over the camera because nothing happening in a minute, unfortunately. But it's one of them. You've got to be in it to win it. The tide's starting to pull now, so I'm not going to get much longer. But sometimes it can make a difference, can it? I mean, I've been here many times in the winter, in the dark over the years. We've been fishing into the bay, and I've done this, and sometimes I've blanked, sometimes it's paid off. So what I like about these Centuries eliminators is the tips on them are lovely. I mean, the C1000 is a beast of a rod. It's very, very powerful, but you look at that, a fast flowing tide earlier on, and it was pulling over like a T9, you know what I mean? As long as you've got your drag set, it just locks up perfectly. Lovely fishing tip. I bought the T12s and that before Ventura. I reckon these would do it though, you know what I mean? They're very powerful rod. But I don't know how much longer I'm going to get at this. It's pulling round now. This was probably the last cast, unfortunately. But guys, got a few things coming to the pipeline. For those of you who aren't on, do check out my other channel and the Sea Fishing Show. It started last year and it's doing really well, to be honest. And I've enjoyed mixing with and getting to know a lot of like you guys from the Sea Angle Adventures. And personally, I feel that it's took away some of the best parts of Sea Angle Adventures with the audience into their own little community. And yeah, it's been good. It's been a lot of people get it's easier to maintain, you know what I mean, easier to talk and control. But lots of reviews and stuff. I've got the new Century thermal layered jacket that'll be hitting the channel this coming week. I've also got the zip up hoodie from the Century range coming to do a review this week. And yeah, all bits and pieces. I had a few messages about the new thermal jacket. They do look really nice, and I'm hoping, to be honest, with this, the thermal jacket, if it's not raining, and then you've got the zip up jacket where you can put up on the top, it's all you need. And to be honest, not even with this one on, you can put your t-shirt on with your jacket, and then you've got your one over the top. I go for a size, so I normally go for a size bigger when I'm fishing, just because it's nice to have a bit of bagginess and that, and just relaxing in it, isn't it? That tide's pulling over now. You can see it. Give it another 5 minutes and then I'll bring more bait in, but I don't think it's going to happen. So what you've got to be prepared for, though, unfortunately, especially fishing this high up on the channel, you do get a lot of blank sessions to the rewarding sessions, but you just got to be in it to win it. And unless you're out there trying, it's all those. But we come up here today expecting to blank. You know what I mean? You don't come up and expect to catch every time, but you do get a lot of the big fawnies and that up this way, so it's always worth a gamble. You know what I mean? Lovely day for it. Like a sheet of glass out there it was. Me and Connor's fishing here a minute ago, and as the big tugboat comes back down through, it pushed up a surge. It was up to our top of our wellies nearly. But it is a place you do get very muddy. But I think I'm going to give it this one here. Going to go over to Connor. Gef's supposed to be coming down to pick some reels off me, so what I'm probably going to do is go and have a coffee and something to eat in the cafe, and head off over to a low water mark somewhere else later on. Fish for a couple of hours on the income and then head home then. But yeah, not looking good for them first mark, guys, but who knows, it could have happened, couldn't it? All the heart and parcel of fishing. But for those of you new to the channel and new to sea fishing and stuff, for some hints and tips and that for fishing the Bristol Channel, I mean, it's not necessarily a difficult place to fish. Like I said before, good footwear is definitely a must, and hopefully you put the time in and get the rewards. As I said, we could have probably gone down like Sheraton and Lilstock and reefs like that and pulled loads of little fawnies out all day, but you're looking for that monster, and today don't look like it's going to be the day, but it's never over. All it takes is that one cast and one bait up and one fish to change a day, doesn't it? We've seen it happen many a times. I mean, the other day when we were over on a little bit further down, we were fishing and we never had no fish all day, and then all of a sudden that tide's pulling now. You hear my ratchet starting to go? It's Kev produced a 13-pound fawnback. Change a day, that's what it's about. That reel started to tick again. Is weed built up on my line, or is it going to be a fish? Let's have a look. Weed built up on the line. It's like mayweed coming down through at the moment. It's not mayweed, but it's like big bits of weed coming around and splitting, hung up on your line. I'll bring my right line in a minute and you'll see. Clicking away. We're clicking, click, click, click. Who knows? It happened. But we tried. Look at that. That rod would fly off now with the amount of pressure on that if it wasn't for that tripod. Always make sure you've got a decent tripod. I'll walk down on here now. Some leverage. Am I going to get it back? That's the question. You can feel it coming up over the bank. Trick is to keep it moving, and if you feel it, start lifting back on the thing, and then try and gain a little bit with the rod tip, not letting your line down. Get it come up again. Feel it there now, lift. You lift it up over that rough ground. Don't necessarily need to use a rock bottom here. Lift it up. Weed around the line there. There you go. That is it. Not to be had today. Not to be had today. As I said earlier on, it's a bit gutting sometimes when you go out and put time in like that, because it's like the only day of the week I'm going to get out and get a fish. But I think what my plan of attack is I'm not going to fish this over low. I'm going to move for low. Okay, so what I'm probably going to do is, as I said, go up and have a coffee, have a look at the tide a bit more and like the weather for further down, and probably go and have a go at something else. I mean, it's an hard one really what to do. I mean, it's flat calm, so me personally, I want a chance of catching a big fish, so it's what venue we're going to have the best chance of doing so. So yeah, but there you go guys. Anyway, blanking session at Black Battery Point today, which is never good, but it could have been different. It could have been different, couldn't it? But way fishing goes sometimes, way fishing goes. But anyway, I'm looking forward to getting that cafe and having a nice cappuccino and a bite to eat. So from me, live on the Bristol channel, tight lines, and we will see you in the next one.